DC introduced these heroines like future icons, bold debuts, striking powers, and real spotlight. For a moment, it felt like a new era. Then, the push faded. Appearances slowed, solo runs vanished, and storylines went unfinished. Not because they were weak characters, but because priorities shifted, reboots intervened, and editorial attention moved elsewhere. These women weren't failures, they were forgotten promises. So which female DC heroes were launched with big plans, only to be quietly left behind? Here are 10 heroines DC introduced and then abandoned. At number 10 is Faith. Faith was introduced with massive ambition during JLA's Obsidian Age. Created to stand shoulder to shoulder with gods, she was the heavy hitter of Nightwing's replacement Justice League. DC explicitly positioned her as a powerhouse peer to Superman, a Zen warrior with vast telekinetic abilities, meant to diversify the team's upper power tier without relying on the Wonder Woman brand. She was marketed as a high-level government asset, earning even Batman's wary respect, which immediately validated her status to readers. Uniquely, she survived the return of the Core League, fighting alongside the Big Seven and developing a subplot with Major Disaster before transitioning to John Byrne's Doom Patrol. However, her exit was the definition of quiet abandonment. When Doom Patrol was canceled in 2006, Faith simply vanished without a death scene, retirement, or explanation, leaving a 15-year gap in appearances. She fell victim to the mystery box problem. Her backstory was so intentionally vague that once her creator left, new writers found her impossible to define. Lacking a concrete origin, she became a generic flying brick and was silently erased. At number 9 is Element Woman. Element Woman, or Emily Sung, was handpicked by Jeff Johns to survive Flashpoint and join the main New 52 continuity. Her introduction was a massive vote of confidence. She was inducted directly into the Justice League alongside icons like Superman and Batman. Designed as a manic pixie version of Metamorpho, Emily was meant to fix the team's gender imbalance and provide levity in a grim era. She served as the rookie heart of the League during major crossovers like Throne of Atlantis, offering a socially awkward but lovable perspective. Her fade-out, however, was steep. After being shuffled to a barely used Doom Patrol roster in Justice League issue 30, she evaporated. When DC's Rebirth Initiative restored classic continuity, the original Metamorpho returned, rendering Emily redundant. Closely tied to the controversial New 52 tone, she was quietly replaced by the legacy character she was modeled after. She didn't die, she was simply discarded when the editorial wind shifted back to nostalgia. At number 8 is Skitter. Skitter, or Celine Patterson, was introduced as the new variable in the flagship New 52 Teen Titans launch. Unlike legacy heroes like Red Robin, she was an original creation designed to be the breakout star. She filled the reluctant monster archetype, offering a tragic Jekyll and Hyde dynamic where she transformed into an insectoid creature, injecting horror elements into the team. Heavily featured in early promotional art and the first story arc, she was positioned as a central mystery the team had to solve. Her abandonment is infamous. In Teen Titans number 9, the team left her in a sanctuary, literally a hole in the ground, promising to return once she healed. They never did. For over a decade, Skitter remained in narrative limbo. As a symbol of a critically panned run and possessing a complex alien design that was difficult to draw and relate to, she was purged in favor of classic nostalgia characters like Raven, leaving Celine Patterson forgotten in the dark. At number 7 is Solstice. Solstice, or Kieran Singh, was introduced as a game changer for the Teen Titans, designed to inject much-needed positivity and Indian representation into the franchise. Originally a golden goddess wielding light, she was a priority character who survived the New 52 reboot. However, her treatment was turbulent. She was drastically reimagined from a benevolent light wielder into a tragic black smoke entity, confusing her visual brand. Her abandonment was definitive and grim. At the conclusion of the New 52 run, 2014, she was exiled to the 30th century alongside the disgraced Kid Flash, Bartor, and sentenced to a hard labor penal colony. While her teammates returned to the present to enjoy the Rebirth-era restoration, Solstice was literally left rotting in a future prison. She has been ignored for a decade, tainted by the critically panned Lobdell era, and subjected to confusing redesigns that destroyed her original appeal. She became collateral damage in DC's rush to restore classic Titans nostalgia. Up next, a corporate-trained aerial tactician who vanished with her cancelled book, a British celebrity heroine erased after one sacrifice, sacrifice, and a Kree powerhouse who disappeared the moment her team ended. At number 6 is Skyrocket. Skyrocket, or Celia Forrestal, debuted as the co-lead of the Power Company, a bold DC experiment in corporate superheroics. Created by Kurt Busiek, she was a former Navy aviator utilizing an alien Argo harness, positioned as the team's tactical leader and moral compass, essentially their Captain America. She occupied the unique hero as a job niche, grounding the fantastical concept with military discipline and professional ethics. She led the team through its entire 18-issue run, even earning in-universe consideration for Justice League membership. Her disappearance was structural. When the series was canceled in 2003, the entire concept was abandoned. While teammate Manhunter was salvaged from the wreckage, Skyrocket, arguably the book's strongest character, was ignored. There was no tragic death. The company simply folded, and she hasn't made a meaningful appearance in 20 years. Despite her rich characterization, her visually generic power set made it easier for editorial to revert to established staples like steel, leaving Skyrocket grounded indefinitely. At number 5 is Godiva. Reintroduced with a massive push in the New 52, Godiva was positioned as a core member of Justice League International alongside Batman. DC intended her to be the premier British superheroine, filling the celebrity hero niche. Her arc focused on insecurity, feeling like an imposter among real heroes, and her growth from a diva into a selfless teammate, serving as the emotional anchor for Booster Gold. Her fade-out was abrupt. After heroically sacrificing her powers in JLI Annual Issue 1 to save the team, she was set up for a recovery arc. Instead, she vanished. When the title was canceled, Godiva wasn't moved to another book, she was erased. Even when Booster Gold returned, she was never mentioned again. Hampered by powers often viewed as silly prehensile hair and inextricably linked to the failed JLI reboot, DC eventually reverted to established international heroes like Vixen, leaving Godiva as a forgotten relic of a failed launch. At number 4 is Equinox. Equinox, or Miyabin Martin, debuted with significant fanfare as a modern Kree superheroine, designed by Jeff Lemire with local community input. She was immediately inducted into the Justice League United alongside icons like Martian Manhunter and Supergirl. She filled the regional protector niche, wielding vast, season-based powers intended to represent the DC Universe's expansion beyond US borders without relying on lazy stereotypes. For 2 years, she was the narrative heart of the series, balancing traditional upbringing with superhero life. However, when Justice League United was canceled in 2016, Equinox fell into a void. Despite being a teenager with immense potential for Teen Titans, she wasn't transferred. The Rebirth era prioritized restoring classic lineups, and a brand new character held no nostalgia value. Furthermore, her location in Moose Factory, Ontario, made her geographically isolated from Gotham-centric crossovers. She was ultimately a creator-driven passion project. Once Lemire departed, editorial showed no interest in maintaining her, leaving her to fade completely into obscurity. The final stretch brings us a mystic teenager cut when the League rebooted, an Atlantean sister lost when Aquaman's status quo reset, and the forgotten face of a failed Teen Titans relaunch. At number 3 is Maya. Maya, or Chandi Gupta, was introduced as a major effort to diversify the League with a powerful, non-Western hero. DC designed her as the Mystic Warrior, bringing elemental firepower and a mystical bow to a science-based team, while appealing to younger readers through her teenage perspective. For 2 years, she was a fully active, card-carrying member of the League, central to storylines involving her family and the mastery of her abilities. Her fade-out was a casualty of franchise restructuring. When the Justice League line imploded in the mid-90s to prepare for the Grant Morrison relaunch, the satellite teams were disbanded. Unlike peers like Fire or Booster Gold, who were grandfathered into new eras, Maya was simply sent home to India. She didn't die, she was just left behind. Aside from a fleeting cameo 15 years later to confirm her survival, she remains a victim of the B-Team era, a period DC historically treats as forgettable, leaving its original characters to fade into obscurity. At number 2 is Deep Blue. Deep Blue, or Debbie Perkins, debuted during Peter David's acclaimed Aquaman run as Arthur Curry's half-sister. DC introduced her to expand the Aquaman family with a supportive sibling dynamic, contrasting with the villainous Ocean Master. With Mera largely absent or unstable during this era, Deep Blue filled the Supergirl of Atlantis niche, serving as the primary female action hero while Dolphin occupied the romantic role. She was a recurring fixture for years, integrated into complex political storylines with a unique visual design and size-altering powers. However, her abandonment was a result of status quo restoration, as the series shifted back to classic elements and Mira reclaimed her position as queen. The specific 90s supporting cast was purged. Deep Blue simply stopped appearing, missing key events like Sub Diego before being totally erased in the New 52. Unlike Tula or Garth, she was never reintroduced. She ultimately suffered from redundancy. In a franchise crowded with hydrokinetic women, she lacked a distinct enough hook to survive once Mira returned to prominence. At number 1 is Argent. Argent, or Tony Minetti, was the face of the 1996 Teen Titans relaunch. Created by Dan Jurgens for an all-new roster, she was the silver energy wielder and clearly intended to be the breakout star. She filled the privileged rookie archetype, a shallow rich girl evolving into a selfless hero, serving as the team's emotional anchor. Uniquely, she was a survivor. Even after her original series failed, she was popular enough to join the classic Titans roster and appeared in the animated series, remaining active for nearly a decade. Her abandonment, however, was slow and painful. After the Graduation Day event in 2003 restructured the franchise, Argent was relegated to background cameo status, appearing in crowd shots without lines before vanishing completely in the New 52. She became a victim of the lost generation. Because the Jurgens run is generally disliked, modern writers skip it in favor of the Wolfman/Perez era. Despite her potential, Argent is guilty by association with a failed reboot and was simply forgotten. While she enjoys a cameo life in the Teen Titans Go cartoon, her comic book counterpart has been completely erased from existence. Which abandoned DC hero should return next? Please comment below and press the subscribe button and bell icon for more regular updates.